In the past, I've spoken about the Nintendo Switch effect and how it really has boosted to a whole new level with Nintendo's games. With the Nintendo Switch, we're starting to see unprecedented success in multiple different franchises across the board for Nintendo, from Zelda, Breath of the Wild, selling 30 million copies, to games like Animal Crossing completely destroying series franchise sales. And this stretches all the way from the top even to the bottom of Nintendo's repertoire of games. For example, games like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 doing far better than what Xenoblade Chronicles had done in the past on the Wii and the Wii U respectively. So when the Nintendo Switch effect is really happening and going, it's really going, because it's also even resurrected game franchises, and one of those is Metroid. Up until this point, had never reached sales numbers on an individual release of at least 3 million units, and Metroid Dread pretty much did that in about 6 months on the market, from 2021 to early 2022. So the fact that there are rumors that are going around, apparently from someone very credible, that Metroid Dread, or Mercury Steam more like it, the developers of Metroid Dread, are working on a follow-up or a new 2D Metroid game after the massive success of Metroid Dread, is not surprising to me. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into this here. Shout outs to everyone who did let me know about it. I had a lot of you guys talk to me about it, and I wanted to discuss this further because I think that it signifies exactly what Nintendo needs to do going forward, and some of the things with the Nintendo Switch effect and how that can go in the future. So, a Spanish Twitter user who apparently leaked Metroid Dread for the Nintendo Switch before it was officially revealed by Nintendo, which we did have videos on that beforehand. It wasn't a complete surprise that Metroid Dread was announced, a new 2D Metroid game. I actually had a video, I think in early 2022, or I think 2021, that talked about the leaks of that. So I do know about that in terms of people talking about it. But anyway, he has actually stated that Nintendo is working with Mercury Steam on another new 2D Metroid game, and the game is set for a 2025 release. And that would be about 4 years after the original release of Metroid Dread in 2021, the very end of 2021. So I do want to talk about this because I find it very interesting that this is greenlit as fast as it is. Now, we know that Mercury Steam with Metroid pretty much became a made studio because of how great Metroid Dread did. Like I stated before, you have the sales of about 2.9 to 3 million units in that first 6 months. That's easily better than any of the other Metroid games ever revealed. Rate of sales that fast is going to get you on notice. It's going to get you on projects, and it's going to make Nintendo and people that you're working with very happy. Metroid Dread was an overwhelming success. Nintendo, I don't even think, expected it to sell that well in that time period, considering games like Metroid Prime and also other 2D Metroid games on also big install bases like the Nintendo Switch had never even gotten to that point. And even if you want to go a little bit further into it, games like 2D Metroid had never even reached that point since like the Super Nintendo era when it comes to 2D Metroid. So the fact that Metroid Dread was able to do that was very good for all parties, and of course, as the gamers, it's good for us because they're going to greenlight and fund more new Metroid projects. The series is definitely not dead, where it looked a bit shaky after Metroid Other M in 2010. So this is once again a good thing. This shows that the Nintendo Switch is a system that really revolutionized Nintendo's first party IPs in a lot of different ways. It really took a lot of the IPs that we've known and we've loved for decades or for years and pretty much brought them to new heights with the hybrid concept, no longer splitting apart the fan base when it comes to if you're buying it on the portable or if you're buying it on the console, and two separate types of games. But now you have one singular game, and not only does it increase sales up to where you've had it before on a console or portable, but then a lot of the time it actually goes above and beyond and maybe even surpasses the sales combined with certain stuff. So I think that this is once again a phenomenal thing, and I would love for this to actually be a thing. But the most intriguing thing with all of this is exactly where is it going to go? Is it going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 title, or is it going to be still on the regular Nintendo Switch, or is it going to be a cross-gen game? I think that's going to be the most interesting thing, because 2025, I would suspect Nintendo would have a new system on the market by 2024. So if it's a 2025 game, going off of the rumor here, yeah, you do give yourself some leeway with an install base, and I'm guessing that a lot of the people that would want to play Metroid Dread, for example, would have that next Switch, but there's just too many logistical things at this point to even gauge exactly where the Nintendo Switch 2 or the next system would be at. Or does Nintendo do something that they really haven't done too much and have a cross-gen plan in play for their big first-party games like Microsoft and Sony did for a number of years after the Xbox Series and also the PlayStation 5 release? They still release stuff on PS4, cross-gen games. Multiple third-party developers have done that. This is probably a video for another day, but I think that this is honestly the first time Nintendo can, I would say, confidently do a cross-gen strategy and be okay. Before, it's always been, oh my gosh, the last system is not selling or our current system is not selling. We need to move on to the next system because sales really aren't much. But that's not the case with the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo is in a very unique position this time around where everything is still strong and they can casually go in to the next generation and make sure everything is set, ready to go while still making good profits and having good games released on the current system. But at some point, obviously, you have developers moving their tools and engines and everything over, and you need to start getting that next gen ball rolling when it comes to your release lineup, because there are developers within Nintendo that have already started working on those next generation games for probably a year or two now at this point. They're getting used to those tools and getting those games ready probably for a 2024 launch. So I do feel that that is going to be the interesting thing with this. But speaking of working out, Fire Emblem Engage is out to rave reviews and also pretty good sales so far. Based off of the positional charts, the sales numbers should be coming in Japan and should do pretty well based off of some of the pre-orders and everything. Of course, I'll have a video talking about that, but there has been a lot of discussion about Fire Emblem Engage and the type of game that it is, and also Nintendo's internal code names for it and exactly when it finished up production. Now, I went and looked over a lot of this because Nintendo's internal names for Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem Engage were iron and then numbers afterwards. There was a code name of it. So Fire Emblem Engage, the code name was apparently Iron 19. Fire Emblem Three Houses code name was apparently Iron 17. So, you have Iron 17, which released in 2019. You have Iron 19, which released in 2023. That leaves a number in between. That leaves Iron 18, and that's where we're going to come in here with the rumors of Fire Emblem Echoes, Genealogy of the Holy War, or just Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. That is the fourth game. That is Sigurd's game. For those that are new to Fire Emblem with Engage, you guys know Sigurd. He's cavalry. He's got his cool lance. He's out there going all over the map when you engage. Yes, that's Sigurd. It's his game. So apparently this game is in development on the Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo should be announcing it sometime maybe this year, I'm guessing, with it, and it would be a pretty expansive remake of the game. Now, the last time that we got a Fire Emblem remake, that was back on the Nintendo 3DS, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, which people promptly complained was not on the Nintendo Switch, even though the system just launched that year. This game was obviously in development well before they were even really thinking about what tools and what could be done with that game. But hey, it is what it is on that front. So a new Fire Emblem remake going back and doing something like Genealogy would be very interesting in my opinion, because Genealogy of the Holy War had a lot of ideas that helped resurrect the franchise all the way in 2012-2013's Fire Emblem Awakening. The children and the two parts and having a lot of the different stuff, that was where Genealogy of the Holy War kind of came into play, and they took a lot of great ideas from that game and also other Fire Emblem games and put them all together in what they thought could be the last Fire Emblem game. So I do credit Genealogy of the Holy War, in addition of course to Fire Emblem Awakening, on bringing the Fire Emblem franchise back to prominence, pretty much giving them the tools and what they needed to do to make sure that Fire Emblem continued, because things were looking rocky, especially after some of the commercial failures of games like Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, but they spent a lot of money putting that game together. So what we could see here is a Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War release this year. And once again, this is the effect of the Nintendo Switch and of great sales. This is the reason why when games like Fire Emblem do really well, or when the Nintendo Switch does really well, you can fund these type of things. We get these type of projects. And if Nintendo does release Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War this year, that is definitely a positive thing on actually moving the ball forward, maybe a bit quicker for other Fire Emblem games. People do want to see Path of Radiance. People do want to see Roy's game as well. So I think that this would probably be a great way to kind of test exactly how things would go on the Nintendo Switch and going forward, because we have got some other remakes, but they haven't necessarily done as well sales wise as main Fire Emblem games. So I'm very interested to see exactly how in depth this Genealogy of the Holy War remake is, if it's actually happening, which I do think it is, just because it seems, even based off of some of these classifications and some of the information that's out there, that Fire Emblem Engage was finished in 2021. And we do know that the game did leak last year. The game leaked, I think, early last year or summer or so. There was images of Alear and also of Somniel and all of that last year. They were really crusty, but it seems like the game, they were pretty much sitting on it because it just launched in January. Like, hey, here you go. Here's the game at a Nintendo Direct, and bam, it's ready in January. So it does seem like that's one of those games that Nintendo sitting on and waiting because they wanted to wrap up the year of the RPGs and the games that they had for 2022. So very interesting. I would be excited for Genealogy of the Holy War because I think that's one of the most innovative Fire Emblem games. It's easily one of the best Fire Emblem games, and it can do some wonders on the Nintendo Switch. But I would be interested to see how expansive the game is, exactly what they do to kind of refine the mechanics and what they do with the graphics, like where do they go with it? What's the art style like? Are they kind of pulling more of an engaged looking art style, or are they going with more of a grittier look like Fire Emblem Three Houses did? Now, obviously not the same exact style in terms of how it looked with the graphical style and with the environments and everything, but are they going to go with that type of art style? Are they going to go with more of the bubbly, vibrant type that engages? I think that would be a very interesting thing to see. But yes, Fire Emblem, once again, we talk about the Nintendo Switch effect with Metroid Dread. Fire Emblem has had that same thing, although it did happen a little bit sooner with the Nintendo 3DS, them making some fantastic 3DS RPGs, but Fire Emblem has even been elevated on the Nintendo Switch with games like Fire Emblem Three Houses doing extremely well, over 3.8 million units sold as of, I think, the end of 2021, based off of that charting that we did get. So the fact that we have a Fire Emblem game selling nearly 4 million, or pretty much at 4 million units plus, that is absolutely incredible. And games like Fire Emblem Engage can come out and top the charts on the eShop, top the charts on Amazon Japan, Amazon in the US, and multiple other parts of the world. This is exactly what you want to see for these type of franchises, and why the Nintendo Switch has elevated games like Xenoblade, like Fire Emblem, like Metroid. Some of these lower tier franchises have been able to rise up above them because of what the Nintendo Switch represents. So definitely grateful for what they've done there, and I really hope that we do get this next Genealogy of the Holy War remake so we can get the ball rolling towards some of the newer Fire Emblem games as well, because we are behind at this point. They've remade the first few ones and kind of going at a really slow pace, but I completely get it. I mean, you need resources, you need to plan it. You can't just kind of put like a million different Fire Emblem remakes out there. So I understand it completely, but this is something that I think is going to be very, very interesting heading into 2023 and the Nintendo Direct season, which I do feel that a Direct is coming this February. I feel that this February Direct is coming, and we could get some more information on some of those summer-ish second half titles that have been rumored, in addition to games like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, other games that are coming out as well. The Bayonetta Origins game, that game's coming too. So I think there is a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and I think that this is going to be an interesting swan song for the Nintendo Switch as it heads into that transition phase of the next system coming, and speculation and all of that. But speaking of transition phases over, make sure you guys check out some of my other videos. You can transition on over to them, and I've got some cool videos on Fire Emblem Engage where I talked about some tips and tricks to get you started to understand the mechanics of the game, or even another video talking about the next Nintendo Switch as well that I did a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't seen that, I'll have links for you guys in the description. I do appreciate all the support. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.